It is the holidays, and you are probably a little bit stressed about clients messaging and all this sort of stuff because apparently they don't have families and lives during the holidays, and you do, but you got to feed yours, and so why not respond to that message as you did last year and the year past and all that sort of stuff? And is there any wonder why you're stuck below 100K a month? Right? That's not to make you feel bad, but there are clearly signals of who's calling the shots, and it's not you. And we want to cover that today. We want to fix that stuff because I was you in the early stages of running an agency, right? So we did digital marketing and obviously clients some of the clients we attracted before we got our shit together on who we were targeting and all that sort of stuff. A lot of those clients would basically more or less be using our services as a way to save their business, to the point where after I had been on entry calls or sales calls with enough people, I was like, if you are using our service as a savior for something that's going under in the next 12 months, I really don't think we're a good fit. And that's how you can start getting better clients. And I got known for retaining people for years and years and the real profits and the retention and that sort of stuff. If people never leave you, you just compound your leverage. You make more money, all that sort of stuff. But that's not what this video is for. Finding the right clients is something that I can absolutely teach you. And if you stick around, feel free to subscribe to this channel, and there will be a video on that. Absolutely. Because again, the real profit is in the retention. So many things you hear every day is pushing acquisition, acquisition, acquisition. It's like acquisition gets really freaking easy when you get results for clients, you love your clients, and they stay for years. Then everyone else is like, how do I get those results and stay for years? Because it seems like you got your stuff dialed. So let's talk about what you're feeling though, because as I record this, Thanksgiving's in 3 days. And I remember distinctly on New Year's a few years back where this client of mine was more or less like losing their shit on me. And just for the sake of this story, I think it's kind of when I tell people this story, they're like, whoa. But it's to a level of the reason I would tell the story is because it is a very good example of what you can tolerate and what you shouldn't tolerate, because it is your business. You're calling the shots, right? So would you, as the business owner, tell every single client, yeah, you can freaking message me at 11 p.m. on Thanksgiving night and expect a response from me within minutes? No, you wouldn't do that, right? So let me kind of tell the story because it was a very clear Rubicon moment of I walked over that line, and it was never going to be the same after that. In fact, I ended up using this one moment as an example to my staff, who we hired a lot of entry level employees and that sort of stuff, and they were always like, just satisfy the client by saying yes to them, even if they were being not realistic, or even if they were being quite literally like harmful to the work we were doing, because the client hired us because we were experts. They're not the expert. And if we just say yes to everything, that actually derails a lot, right? So hopefully you're not at that stage where you're just saying yes to every single request just to keep them happy. Because one of the key statements I would tell clients, and this isn't even the story yet, but I know it'll be helpful to you, is if you are in that stage, just the quickest example is that if a client is starting to pull the strings on something that they hired you to do because you're the expert, and you just let them dictate terms, of course they're going to get subpar results. So a phrase I would use with clients, we would have strategy calls with our clients in the marketing world to lay it out like, hey, here's this complex stuff about SEO or keywords or whatever that you don't understand. Let's make it into simple terms. And occasionally, say 1 out of 10 calls, a client who was kind of very like price conscious and this needs to freaking work and all that kind of stuff, those would be the people who would say, well, we want this, we don't want this, get rid of this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, so what I'm hearing is you like control, right? That's what I'm saying in my head. This is what I would say to them to make sure that we knew how to get results by them not derailing it. And it was very calm and delivered like this. I would say, all right, okay, thank you so much for your contribution. This is incredibly helpful to know. But what I'm hearing is that you want us to run your strategy, right? from the whole point of this call and the whole point of hiring our services, from what I understood, was you didn't have an expert level of knowledge in the subject matter we're talking about. You don't have 10,000 hours, or in my case, 20,000 hours of work into this sort of stuff. And so I am totally fine executing your strategy if you want. This is the strategy we know is going to work. But if you would rather pay for something you don't know is going to work, I am very happy to do that. I'm just going to need your confirmation on this call before we move forward with something that we can't confirm is going to work. And a variation of that may sound passive aggressive, whatever. I would always deliver it much better to somebody. Hopefully it doesn't sound passive aggressive. But for the most part, you would more or less say, I don't want to take your money if we're putting it into a plan I don't know is going to succeed, right? And just by saying something like, even that, just saying that, it kind of snaps them out of it and be like, what the hell am I doing? I'm trying to tell someone who has put in the work to do everything I want them to do, which was the whole reason I hired them in the first place, because I don't know how to do it, right? That's like me. I have a bunch of tattoos. That's like me telling the tattoo artist, no, do it this way. It's like, I can't even draw a stick figure with skill. You know what I mean? So there's that. In terms of you're getting a message and you're answering it, it's Thanksgiving, it's New Year's, it's St. Patrick, if whatever holiday, right? You should be spending it with your family or catching up on sleep or just reflecting on your year and enjoying it. And you're not. I'll use the story from New Year's where I had this client peak COVID, right? While I was still at the agency, the only reason they wanted to work with us was because we had someone I'm in Milwaukee, right? So they wanted in-person meetings, all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to get too detailed for the random possible chance that they might watch this, but I mean, I stand by everything I did. Long story short, I would go into their office and every single client of ours at the time would get a 1 hour per month meeting with us to make sure everyone's on the same page of the campaign. And I dished meetings altogether after a while and I got smarter. But at this time we were doing 1 hour meetings. The thing is I would walk into their office just on my own and there wasn't a single meeting that lasted under 2.5 hours. And so because like an intelligent person that I'm sure you are as well, you use a booking link and one of my clients had booked a monthly call with me right in front of this client's call or meeting in person. So all I did was tell them, I said, hey, just so you know, I have back-to-back meetings here. I won't be able to come to this one in person. We'll do this one virtually, but I'll be able to make the next one. And just to confirm that since you've gotten far different than what you purchase is, I just want to make sure that this does supply the contract because everybody gets an hour with us. And long story short, very insecure person blew off the handle and said I should be fired and that I was completely unprofessional. The whole email was like 3 sentences. It was very straightforward. So I got yelled at for an hour, which is always fun. And then it came time for us to have our next in-person meeting about a month later. But the problem is I was trying to prep for this meeting because I was entirely scarce and like I can't lose the client and I don't want to be perceived as not doing a good job, even though I gave them 3 times the normal average almost every time. We had like 3-hour meetings. Like I said, only one meeting was around 2.5. The rest were 3. And so long story short, after doing that 5-6 times in the middle of a pandemic, he had the belief that I wasn't delivering enough. So what I was doing, I saw New Year's midnight, all that sort of stuff, even in my old age, because what was I doing? I was writing a Google Doc about all the various things that had happened in the campaign to make sure that I was in the right and that I wasn't being negligent and that I wasn't being a terrible person, which of course I wasn't, and all this sort of stuff. So I was prepared for our in-person meeting. And in doing so, again, I tell this story just so you can kind of see what you are able to do when you are very clear. It doesn't mean nice all the time, and it doesn't mean tell them what they want to hear. I mean clear. So I walked into that meeting having done all of my research, how many hours we had spent, the results we had done, the work we had completed, and it came down to it that they hadn't approved a bunch of stuff, and they got 3 times the amount of my personal time for the same dollar amount, right? So I walked in the meeting, just put my Google Doc laid it all out. I said, you don't need to read this. Let me just break it down for you. I had watched the meeting where he was chewing me out again so I could not misquote him. And so I quoted him back to him. He called me like, he was swearing like crazy. I don't need direct quotes, but I swore his swear words right back to him. I said, I want to make sure I'm not misquoting you. So when you said blah, 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 swear word, all that sort of stuff. And then finally I said, so as you can see from the document, we've delivered 3 times what anyone else has paid for with us. As you can tell from your quotes directly to me, the level of respect and ethics has never been lower. And so the only reason I'm not firing you as a client right now is because you said it to me. If you would have said it to my staff, you would have been gone that day. And I said it to him, and looked me dead in the eyes. And this was someone who ran his business by fear. And I knew that because other people would be in the meeting and they would never speak that, like never refute anything, all yes men all the way around. And when I said that to him, there was nowhere to go. And I do not want you to misconstrue that story as some power dynamic. What I am using it for is to explain that there are clear boundaries. And every time you respond to a client over the holidays, on a weekend, after 8 p.m., after 5 p.m., anytime you do this, where it is not an actual urgent thing, where someone's about to die, that is your fault. And I don't say that in a feel even worse about yourself. You already felt bad about yourself for answering this message, and now you feel bad about yourself because I'm saying it's your fault. I'm saying it as like, let's be objective, because no one is forcing you to answer that. And if a client is doing that, expecting a response, it is because you gave them the expectation that it is okay. One simple way to do this, let me be helpful to you now, is in your contract with any person you have on a monthly retainer or whatever, the communication section should be the boldest point. It should be unmissable, even to someone who skims a contract. And in there, it should plainly state what platform you're responding on and when you'll respond from whom, right? So our contracts for marketing services would say you will get a response from your project manager, not the salesperson, not anyone else, from your project manager by the end of the following business day. We didn't say within 24 hours or 48 hours. By the end of the following business day on this platform. And then we would give examples. If we receive a message not on this platform, we will move it to the platform if you need us to, but we won't consider it part of the campaign. So we're telling them clearly that this isn't really permissible. If you do it outside of this, we don't have to respond to it. We would also say end of the following business day. So if you send me something at 8 a.m. on a Friday, I don't have to respond to it until 5 p.m. on a Monday. And we would give that as an example, right? And if you send something to the salesperson or the business developer, the project manager is under no obligation to respond to it because you didn't communicate through them. And clients follow that. Being available does not mean valuable. Being clear means being valuable. And so after that night where I saw midnight, completely sober, in my 30s, right? It's been a while, but after that night and then that meeting, the client did cancel. They didn't cancel in the meeting, but they canceled within a couple weeks because I wasn't a yes man. I was a deliver value person and held a boundary and a constraint person. And they didn't give us a bad review. They didn't go tell everyone and their brother not to work with us. Everything I said was irrefutable, right? So what I'm saying is that you need to give your clients the clearest possible boundaries, because it's not you being less valuable. If anything, it's more valuable. They know exactly what to do. There's very little mental lift. They know not to send you an email and a text and something on the platform and a support ticket, because that's a whole bunch of overwhelm for them. Is why would I want to communicate in 4 different places? They don't want to do that either. They want one place, and they want to know when they get a response. And so, for instance, when we said, we'll get to you by the end of the following business day, that didn't say a solution. We will get to you. We will acknowledge you. So sometimes, say, whatever their problem was took more than a day to solve, I would always send them a message, typically by 2 or 3 p.m. that following day, and be like, we are completely on this right now. We know exactly what we're doing. Here are our next steps. Just wanted to let you know. Because clients don't need, their good clients, great clients are realistic. They don't need you to solve something immediately. That's not what they're saying. All they want is to know that it's handled. And so if you can be super clear in your contract, super clear and like reiterating it on the first couple of calls or the first meetings or whatever, or including it as a postscript in any of your written stuff for the first month until they get it, you will never have to answer a message on a holiday, night, or weekend ever again. And I'm telling you, you can do this today so that if you are watching this video around the holidays, that the next holiday you have, or at least the next time in December when this video probably goes out, that it will be the most relaxed December you've ever had, because there won't be a single worry in your mind about what the inbox is doing, what the clients are saying, are they going to leave, because you'll have set a boundary that they can easily follow. And what compounds from great boundaries is clients who stay for a really, really long time. Because the ones who like the chaos and the overwhelm, when you give a boundary, when you say, we'll respond to you by the end of the next business day, and they're like, that's not quick enough, they'll never sign with you. And you don't want those clients, because those are the clients who leave after a couple of months when it didn't work. So don't put yourself through it. It starts on the front end. Communication. Tell them exactly how you're going to respond, who's going to respond to them, in what time frame. And you're great. So I hope this video helps. It is something that took me way too long to master. And I'm telling you, it is this simple. You literally tell them on the front end, you remind them for the first month, you're good to go. All right. And then just hold the line. Don't say we won't respond on nights and weekends, and then you respond on nights and weekends. And the same goes with your freaking staff as well. Don't say, I want you to have a great work-life balance, and then you're messaging your staff Slack messages at 8 p.m. on Saturday. All right? Model what you want to get what you want. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Don't answer any messages over the holidays. You'll be fine.